What's up, everyone? Welcome back to South by Southwest 2024 for another Collider interview with a team behind a movie I loved, Azrael. I'm trying not to curse in the first couple of minutes of the video so it doesn't get flagged, but wow, this movie is a lot.
Oh, awesome. Thank you.
Congratulations. Simon, I'm going to give you these duties. Can you tell everybody what Azrael is about? Because a lot of our viewership is going to first learn about it through the festival.
Yeah, I mean, Azrael was our attempt to make a really unique horror movie. It's about a young woman who has escaped from kind of her religious group / cult in a post-apocalyptic reality, and for various reasons, her escape does not go well.
For various reasons.
Character reasons.
Yeah, that sums it up.
Personal problem.
Wait until people see those various reasons. Evan and Simon, I wanted to ask you about meeting, because I was reading a part, I think it was of your director's statement, where you said the film was inspired by a long-standing creative kinship between myself and Simon, dating back to our early careers. I love when people find collaborators and then stick with them. So do you remember the first thing you saw in the other that signaled to you, this is someone I want to stick with?
Yeah, I mean, well, for one thing, Evan and I have just been, I mean, we've been friends for like over 20 years. We met on the set of Dead Birds back when he was doing Homesick with Adam Wingard, and that was the night that the three of us met and we became friends. And so we'd always looked for a project to do together, and I think we knew that we wanted it to be like a real horror thing. Like, because that was like a genre that we both loved, but I think we felt like we hadn't creatively attacked. And so when I wrote this like kind of nonsensical script, which was based on like a series of nightmares, and at first I had like a really precise vision of kind of what I wanted it to be, and like after a while that kind of just like I didn't know what to do with it anymore. And it was our producer Dan Kagan that was like, well, what if Evan directed this? And I was like, well, that would be like literally the best of every possible world, like if we could get him to do it. And I think you called me right after that and you were like, would this be cool, you know? And it just was a really exciting thing because Evan really, like, we disagreed on some things. We had like some creative conflicts, I think ultimately all for the better. But like at the end of the day, I knew that he was going to protect. No one was going to like make the film not my vision, because Evan was just like understood what that was. Like he knew that the gore had to be so insanely over the top that like, you know, you'd really feel it. And because I mean, this movie could have, it's a very strange film in some ways. And
in some ways.
Just a few.
Yeah, and like, well, I mean, but you never back down on any of that. And like, I mean, it could have, I've had experiences as a writer where you kind of feel like you're seeing your work become diluted in the production process. And if anything, we came out of this with like a bolder, braver film than I expected. Part of that's Samara's performance, which like we could not have gotten luckier with casting, like truly. But like, you know, and part of it is just that like we stuck to our guns for reasons that we can no longer articulate or remember.
We don't know why, but no, there was, you know, Simon was the first professional horror filmmaker that I met. Me and Adam Wingard were making an incredibly low budget, ill-conceived movie in the woods. And I was working for Fangoria as a journalist as well. And it was a set visit of Dead Birds. And, you know, just talking to Simon for, you know, he was into hip hop, which was great. It was like weirdly, we talked about Aesop Rock, but, you know, getting to know him when I moved to LA, he would always share these scripts with me that we would talk about, and it would get me pumped to write really uncompromising, crazy, like, you know, artistic, but also like very much like fun, you know, horror scripts that, you know, we would just be like, these have to be fucking movies. And so many of them don't end up being movies. And there's like so many scripts that I've read of his that I'm just like, oh my God, this would be an all-timer. So I've always loved his writing. So when Azrael, you know, when he wrote that in like what felt like 2 weeks or 3 weeks or something, it was something I'd never read, even from him. And it was almost like all of his kind of sensibilities distilled in this like austere experiential thing with like no fat at all. And, yeah, I loved it. And I just wanted to see it get made. At first, Simon was going to direct it. I wanted that to happen. We wanted Billie Eilish to be in it or something. There was like a lot of different incarnations.
Well, and yeah.
What role would Billie Eilish have played?
Mine, I'm assuming.
No, I was thinking.
This is the first time hearing it.
I was thinking someone else.
Sorry, Billy.
I'd admittedly
10 years
forgotten
ago.
that.
Wow.
It was a long time ago.
I've like the character's name is slipping my mind, but the character who is now I'm afraid to say something if it's a spoiler, but the character who's pregnant.
Miriam.
Yeah, like I could kind of see like an alt version. She's fantastic in the film, by the way, but I could kind of see like that fight playing out between you and Billie Eilish, and I'd be here for it.
Right, I'm down.
We could go back, do it again.
No, I like the movie as it is. Samara, for you, you get this script, you sign on. What part of this role did you think would be the most challenging, and ultimately was that the toughest, or did something else catch you by surprise?
I thought the biggest challenge was the obvious one, that no one speaks, so it's all physical, and how to capture a scene without any dialogue. But that ended up being so wonderful and such a great challenge, because actually we say so much without saying anything, and that's usually the most important things, said without words. The weather was the thing I thought was going to be awful, but wardrobe was good to me, and I remember I wore so many layers. I wore like 8 layers. My little head would pop out of like this huge layers of thermals that on weekends when we go hang out, people would be like, have you shrunken? And I'm like, yeah, no, that's just miles of moleskin padding to keep me warm. So that was fun.
You can thank Evan for cutting the part of the script where Azrael's looking for footwear.
Oh, I remember when
she was barefoot for like an early draft.
For real?
Yeah, totally.
Oh no.
A significant amount of
Evan was like, this is going to be a problem.
Thank you.
I love
I
how
remember
you're
I was like, don't make me take off my jacket. And you were like, just for one day. It's like, you take off your jacket. He's in a Canada Goose with lackets.
Yeah, I was covered in layers. Well, it was, we spoke to a few different. Yeah, it started snowing the last day we shot, and then it didn't stop. And like, we would have been completely boned if we needed another day.
There's like an incredible like outtake. Maybe we can put it on the disc of like Samara she's like diving onto a pad, and like as she does, the snow starts coming down so heavily that it like obscures the camera.
It looks like the snow knocked her down.
It's just like yeah.
I love how you phrased your answer as like, this is the obvious challenge. I look at this movie and I see like a laundry list of really demanding elements to this role, like especially with a lot of the action and the physical parts of it. In that particular respect, would you say Azrael is the toughest movie you've ever done? And if not, what was?
I think, yeah, it was. I mean, I think the night shoots were really intense too, like just as humans not seeing daylight for how long? 4 weeks or whatever?
Forever.
30 nights, just,
You paid for that for a long time after, too.
You're still paying for it.
So that was, I think emotionally I just prepared heaps, and like we would talk and we'd be like, this is going to be bad. It's going to be intense.
Yes.
And it's going to be gnarly, but we have to just make it fun.
Yeah.
And not take it too seriously and just be silly.
Well, a lot of that came from you, because you had a good attitude about that, because I feel like everybody else was probably taking it incredibly, gracefully serious. But it was like when we were meeting with different actors, like I remember talking to one actress who literally after the call told her reps, I can't do this movie because of it'll be a challenge to my mental health. Mm-hmm. Because I would be like, this is going to be truly grueling and miserable.
Yeah. It was.
And yes, and Sam on the Zoom was like, yeah. So we figured out eat your vittles.
Ready or not, there was a little bit of that because it was in the cold, me running around with blood all over me. So I thought, okay, it would be an extended version of that.
Toronto, not Estonia.
Yeah. Huh? Yeah, exactly.
I'll bring back a similar phrasing for this question here. Of all the really ambitious set pieces in this movie, which did you think would be the toughest to pull off? And then was that the toughest, or did a different one catch you by surprise?
I mean, the tree, right?
The tree.
The tree.
And it was.
The tree was a nightmare.
Yeah. That's a lot.
Well, I mean, in the script, it was always this, like, I don't know how we're going to do this. I assume it'll be some kind of soundstage build with a green screen. And then Evan just went out there and found a tree.
No, let's go up
she was up in a tree. like off the ground, and it was like we just did it. I mean, the reason that it looks like she's up in a tree is because we filmed it in a tree. I mean, it's the kind of thing that probably you could only do in Estonia.
Yeah, we had a smaller tree at first, but we shot a stunt previs and we watched it, and it looked so.
It's like the saddest.
Very
thing.
dinky. And
No,
we
I
were
mean,
like, we got to go bigger.
It needed to be dangerous to look dangerous, which was like a kind of conundrum.
This is for the alt version of the film where you fight Billie Eilish.
Right, exactly.
Yes, with AI we can do it.
Oh yeah, no, thank you, ever. So I have a supercut question that I'm asking everybody who comes in, and then we cut it together and we come out with a really informative video about making movies. I know that sometimes asking questions on sets can be scary. What is a seemingly silly question about what it takes to make a movie that you wish you had the courage to ask sooner?
I still don't quite understand what crossing the line is. I mean, I get it when I watch it, but I don't know practically. It confuses me. And I get so envious of actors when they're like, isn't this crossing the line? I'm like,
as much as people think they understand it, as soon as you're shooting, everybody's brain capacity drops, and then the script supervisor is running around going like, well, hold on, this is this.
Right.
Yeah, because there's this simple version of two people at a table, but then there's like 5 characters moving around,
Right.
and then it just becomes a total shit fight. Yeah.
So that's a question
It's a good one.
Pretend to know the answer to. Like, yeah. Left, right.
I feel like in particular that happens when you're shooting overnights and your brain starts to melt and you have no sense of geography anymore.
Why are you giving me so few shooting days?
Money.
I asked this would you rather question every once in a while. Would you rather have more time or more money when directing a movie?
Time.
Yeah.
It's often the same thing, as I'm sure people tell you, but time.
Rehearsal time.
Yeah.
I respect, rehearsal time. That's a good
So
one.
This we had to figure out, like, how do we talk to each other without talking to each other I think we had like a week.
Yeah,
Figure that out.
a dizzy week.
Which is more than most. I mean, that was like a luxury. Like so
Yeah.
many shoots just have 0 rehearsal time now, and people just start there, and
show
it's
up.
like you figure it out on the first day, and that's why the first day of shooting always has to get redone. If I could phrase that as a question, it'd be really good.
Oh, it's
well,
fun,
the
though.
question is, can I have more rehearsal time?
Why is my first day of shooting always disposable?
Have a good time.
I'm going to end with a big, broad horror question for all 3 of you, because you've all been a part of franchises that I've loved. If you got the opportunity to work on a new installment of a different horror franchise, which one would you choose and why?
Society.
Oh my God.
I love that movie.
Okay.
Oh my God, it is good.
I'll never get the rights. It's too fucked up. But I love that movie. The ending is an all-timer. I just think it's beautiful. There's no reason to do it either. It's just great. But I would just love to be on set with that kind of special effects.
Nightmare on Elm Street.
We need a new one.
I know.
We're long overdue for another one of that.
I can do it.
I'd believe that.
Unless Billie Eilish gets it.
Yeah. Now I need you and Billie Eilish to work on a movie
We'll
together
talk
so
afterwards.
badly.
I don't know. That's a tough one because I feel like I actually don't gravitate towards like franchises as much. But if I could do like a real Halloween movie, I would really love to do like a Halloween film, but not differently.
What's your definition of a real Halloween movie?
Well, like somehow going back to the tone and style of the original in a way that isn't like actively insulting to viewers.
Whoa. Okay.
Wow.
Well, I mean, I like the last few Halloweens, but it would, they've departed over the years.
I'd like to see you get back into horror franchise filmmaking.
I'm not going to be working on that one.
Blair Witch in
Not
particular
now.
does not get the credit it deserves, and I will tell everybody that as often as I possibly can. I will also tell everybody that Azrael is phenomenal. Like, I look at every single scene of this movie, and it's a filmmaking feat on every single level. So huge congratulations.
Thank you so much.
God,
That's
thank
awesome.
you.
Cute.
I mean it.
So
I mean
sweet.
it.
Thank you.